What's up, guys? It's me, Adrian G, and today I'm actually joined here with my good friend Stefan. Welcome to the channel.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I'm going to be doing a different type of video today. I thought I'd try something else, and I do hope that you guys do enjoy this. So today, I've been living in Sweden for basically since Corona started, so like since last summer, on and off, did a bit of travels here and there. Stefan's been living here for almost 4 years. He's from America. So we thought we would give you guys some tips and basically share 5 things that you should know if you are thinking or planning to move to Sweden.
Sounds good.
All right, so let's get straight into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is the prices, the cost of living here. Now, I didn't think it was going to be too expensive when I came, and I came during the summer, right? And so I was staying in Airbnbs, which is probably a no-no, right?
Yeah, none of the locals are staying in Airbnbs, so it's going to be more expensive doing it.
Yeah. So straight up, the accommodation was pretty expensive. I mean, you can find cheap ones, but like just an average place, even just an average place is pretty expensive. And to give you an idea, for a month in summer, I spent $4,500 for 1 month, which is insane, right?
But that was a nice place.
It was a nice place. It was a nice place. And the reason it was also more expensive is because it was during the summer. So usually, if it's in the winter, it's cheaper. But then I learned my lesson and I ended up getting places from Blocket, you know? So the accommodation, pretty expensive. The food is also a little more expensive when it comes to the cost of living. Like, I didn't think it was going to be that much more expensive than Australia, because Australia is already a pretty expensive country. But I would say it's a bit more expensive than Australia. Like, what are your thoughts if you were to compare like the cost of living with America and Sweden?
For me to like generalize, like everything's gonna cost a little bit more here in general, but then again, like it depends on where you live in Sweden. If you're in Stockholm, where everybody wants to be, or a lot of people want to be, it's going to be expensive. It's like if you go to Manhattan and you live in Manhattan and you're like, America's the most expensive country ever. It's like, all right, well, you've only lived in like the center of New York City. So if you go to like the smaller towns in the north of Sweden or on the countryside, I know friends that pay like $200-300 a month for rent.
Because you recently went to the West Coast, right?
Yeah.
And how was that when it comes to the cost of living, like the stay, the food there?
Everything seemed to be similar. Like you go to a restaurant and we would, have dinner, a few drinks in Sweden at a restaurant, super expensive. Like beers would be like $8 or $9. You're like, what is this? So like going to a restaurant, we'd spend like $50-60 for dinner. I'm like, oh, well, that's what I spend in Stockholm. But then I was asking my friends, I was like, so what do you guys pay for rent? And he had like a 1-bedroom place like I have. And he's like, oh yeah, like $300 a month. I was like, Wow. Now I see why everybody's driving around like BMWs and Porsches around here. They're like have money left over at the end.
Yeah, so I guess just keep that in mind. If you're moving to the capital city, like for example Stockholm, it's going to be a lot more expensive. Now I was in Gothenburg for a month and it was not that much cheaper, but it was cheaper. And then if you go to a smaller place, then it's going to be a bit more cheaper. So just keep in that mind if your budget is tight. Just keep that in mind. It's a bit more expensive in the capital city as opposed to some other places in Sweden. All right, so the next point, we're going to talk about basically like visa permits and, how would you get to live here. Now, personally, I can legally live here because of the fact I have a Polish passport. So I have a European passport, and with a European passport, you can legally live in Sweden and in other countries in the European Union. But you're here on like a visa, right? So how's that process like?
So having that EU passport, super, super nice because you have that flexibility. But for those of us that aren't so lucky, like us Americans out there, we basically have to have a visa or like a reason to be here. So originally I came here on a work permit. I was educated as a teacher, had a master's in teaching, and luckily like Sweden has a really huge teacher shortage. So it was very easy for me to get a work permit because of the fact that it was a job that was on like the labor shortage list. But basically when you're applying for a work permit, you have to prove that you have skills that are either difficult to find or it's in a profession that's really in demand. So a lot of times like being an English speaker, like natively, a lot of companies might need like people that can like write in fluent native English or do voice recordings or things. So you can like definitely like use that to like sell to your advantage. And like the permit I'm on now, a work permit, I work in marketing, and that's kind of like, all right, I'm in a position where I can speak Swedish and English, and I do all of our advertising in English. I have knowledge of the American market and all these types of things. So we could sort of create a good job for me where I had skills that were in demand by that company.
Okay.
If you're not coming here for work, a lot of people, they start dating a Swedish girl abroad or something. If you've lived together while you were abroad and you want to go back to Sweden with your Swedish partner, you can apply for a cohabitating partner visa.
Yeah.
And that's actually the best visa to get, because then you can apply for Swedish citizenship in only 3 years. And if you're on the work permit, it takes 5.
All right. Anyway, moving on to the next point, which is something you should probably know about, is the people. Okay. Now, I think that if you're coming to Sweden and you're not outgoing, you're maybe more leaning towards the introvert side, you're gonna have a bit of trouble making friends. So from my experience, I approach a lot of people like you guys see. I approach a lot of people, but people think I just approach like because I'm filming like a video, right? But when I'm not filming, I'm literally meeting people every single day. Like for example, yesterday I'm with a mate and we met a bunch of people. We met girls, even a couple of guys as well. Like, you know, there was one dude that was basically, it was raining and we were just waiting for the rain to stop. And then he was like, "Oh, hey man, you look familiar. Where do I know you from?" And I mean, I guess that comes from the YouTube stuff. And I was just like, "Oh yeah, maybe YouTube." And then we started talking. He was really cool, good vibes. And he was like, "Oh yeah, man, let's grab a beer sometime." You know, so it's like I think you need to like be social if you want to meet people. Otherwise, it's going to be really difficult, because the people in Sweden, I think they're more. It's because of their culture. I think they're more closed off, more reserved, more shy. As opposed to other places, like for example Australia or America. Like in Australia, super easy, in America, super easy. But like regardless if you're introvert or extrovert, but like in Sweden, I think like just keep that in mind if you're coming here, because I heard a lot of people when they move, a lot of people complain. They're like, "Oh yeah, it's so difficult to like make friends and meet people."
Yeah.
I haven't really had that issue, because I'm just like I like to meet people. I like to socialize. How did you find it?
Yeah, I think like I was very lucky because I was dating a Swedish girl when I came here and had a very established friend group. Some other people in the friend group were also dating Americans and things. So I felt like they instantly kind of understood me coming in and it made it very, very easy at the beginning. But I can understand like somebody that has like zero reference point to anybody. Because Swedish people have like these sort of closed off circles where it's hard to kind of get in with a group unless you know somebody. So now when I like make friends in Sweden, it's like I make friends with a lot of like people that are also expats or like doing interesting things. Other people that are making YouTube videos, like all these sorts of things, finding those people that are having common interests, because there's so many times there's like they just have a closed off group. And I even noticed that like if my friends are having a party, like it would be hard for somebody that like didn't know us to come in. They would have to like know somebody and come in through that.
All right, so let's just leave it at that with people and move on to the next point. Now, Stefan was talking about Jantelägen. So I'm going to leave it to you. I don't know much about that.
When Adrian was like, we need to make a video about these things that people need to know. This is something that I think is one of the biggest differences between maybe our cultures and the Swedish culture, and it really relates to the people as well. It's Jantelägen, the law of Jante. And it's basically these like rules or like kind of like standards of living that a lot of people follow, or like they kind of like accept these beliefs. And it's kind of this belief that like nobody is better than anyone else. So you're not supposed to think you're anything special. You're not supposed to stand out. And you're supposed to sort of kind of go along with the community and the crowd. And you see it develop in so many aspects of Swedish society. It's a more socialistic society, you know, higher taxes, everybody's taken care of. It's the same with like when you have your friend group, you get really close to those close friends that are close to you, but you're not like in the same way like trying to get attention or trying to stand out, which is completely different in America. It's like everybody's fighting for attention. Social media, TikTok, you know, everybody's trying to make it and become the big next thing, you know. And in Sweden, it's people are much more relaxed, like go with the flow, and don't stand out. And I think it's sort of like maybe the older Swedes kind of have this concept of jantelagen more ingrained, but it's still like even the newer generations, even if it's not as prevalent, you still see this like these undertones throughout the culture that once you've like read up on what jantelagen is, you're like, oh, that's why the Swedish people are this way.
Okay, that's super interesting. And the fifth point, we're gonna start wrapping it up because we want to keep this video not too long. Totally. The fifth point, you should probably know and be aware of, and just keep in mind before coming here, is the darkness. Okay, so this is like, I was in Spain. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go back to Stockholm. And my mate was like, oh, it's going to be super dark. And I was like, yeah, I just want to chill, so I'm going to go back. And so as soon as the flight is arriving, I did not expect this. It's pitch black. It's 2 p.m., pitch black. And I'm just like, whoa. Throughout the month of December, I mean, this was even in the newspaper as well. You even shared a story, I think. It was like, in December, Stockholm has not seen the sun, so literally there was no sun in Stockholm. It was just behind the clouds. Like it was just so dark. So just be aware of that. It depends. Like some people get depressed and they just stay home and they just want to sleep. So it just really depends on who you are. Just make sure you take your vitamin D, Do
you reach new levels of pale that you never knew you had before you moved to Sweden? Like I used to never get sunburned, and now when the sun comes out for like an hour after the Swedish winter, I'm getting burned. I didn't know I could even get that white. It's crazy.
And then like talking about the darkness in the winter, like it does get pretty cold here. So like from the year, you'd probably be like, I was here for the summer in May, June, July, August. It was getting cold, so I left. I started traveling a bit, and then I came back December, January, February, and those months were pretty cold. So it does get really, really cold, especially if I'm comparing it to a place like Australia where we don't see snow. It's just totally foreign to us. I mean, you can go to Mount Buller in Victoria and you can see a bit of snow, but snow is almost completely foreign to us. And you've got snow in the US, so you know. So it's like the coldness, okay, but the darkness is just on another level, So I think they're the 5 points. Again, don't wanna I could continue talking, but want to keep this video short. We actually did film another video on Stefan's channel talking about the differences between the biggest differences between Australia and Sweden. So if you want to check that out, just click the link in the description below. And yeah, I think that's it. If you enjoyed the video and you want to see like videos like this once in a while, just hit the thumbs up so I know. If not, that's totally cool. That's totally fine. And thanks for coming on the channel.
Yeah,
Stefan.
Thanks for having me. Good stuff.
And see you guys next time.
See ya.
Peace.